how Chinese officials and public at large seen this short war between Pakistan and China, especially the performance of the Pakistan's Air Force?
Well, I think from the Chinese perspective, the military confrontation between Pakistan and India, dating back to the beginning of this month, was very unfortunate. I personally think the Indian side was unprovoked when it launched a kind of large-scale military attack into Pakistan. And the resulting air combat between India and Pakistan now has been recorded as one of the largest scale, most important aerial confrontation in many decades. And I think, based on consensus view throughout the world, there is only one winner and there is one loser. And as I said on a very distinguished Indian TV channel, Pakistan was not the loser and India was not the winner. So I think all of us really have the objectivity to look at the result of the aerial confrontation. Now, while there is ceasefire between India and Pakistan, I still hope the Pakistani side will be on full alert, because it seems that the Indian side is still figuring out what they should do, while they present a false narrative about what really happened and whether they lost 6 airplanes, some of them very sophisticated Western-made planes. They try to present their alternative truth. But I don't think the people in the world, especially manufacturing countries like France or Russia or the United States, will be misled by such misrepresentation. Further, I want to alert the friends in Pakistan that the Indian government's attempt to divert water from the Indus River will really cause a lot of damage to the people in the downstream in Pakistan. And I hope India and Pakistan, and also most likely China, need to enter into some kind of dialogue so that India will not be given a free hand to commit such very, very serious problems. Because I think to deprive water from the people in the downstream in Pakistan is a very serious crime against humanity. So I think while the tensions are reduced right now, India is very much focused on rhetorics, but there is no fundamental lifting of the tension between India and Pakistan for the moment.
Exactly. And by doing so, isn't it true that the state of India is setting a precedent for a state like Chinese over the river Brahmaputra, where, to my information, 30 to 40% water is being controlled by China? So this might be a precedent for China as well.
Well, I would say most of the rivers flowing through India, which feed eventually into the Indus River and feeding Pakistan, originate in China's Tibetan plateau, including what we call the Yalu-Zangbujiang river in the eastern part of Tibet, which eventually also goes into India. So I think one very effective way to prevent any country in the midstream from depriving people in the downstream of the legitimate use of water is for the country in the real upper stream, that is China, to warn India about not diverting water from people in the downstream, because otherwise it will really cause unnecessary hardships, economic upheaval for the people in the downstream. So I personally hope China, India and Pakistan will eventually sit down at a table to talk about using peace and diplomacy to solve whatever problems, rather than allowing any country to resort to unilateral actions and to violate their treaty
That's very sane, very sane, very sane. And we really wish that sanity prevail in this region, because peace and sanity is the only solution if this region wants to prosper. Professor, all the major capitals, all the major newspapers, including Reuters, the New York Times, and some French papers, Le Monde, they were citing and they were praising the way PAF has shot down 6 fighter jets of the Indian Air Force. I'm sure that being a major power, China has also seen this through intelligence and through other means. What exactly is the score Can you vouch for that, that we managed to shot down their 6 planes?
Well, I would say the Chinese military is 100% domestic, meaning China produces all kinds of weapons and softwares and hardwares for the army, for the air force, for the navy, for the submarines, as well as for the space force, I would say. And I think China has achieved a very synthetic, highly integrated merging of what I would say the 5 different dimensions, that is space, sky, ground, surface water, and the submarine. Now, in modern warfare, this seamless synthesis of different elements of the war and different dimensions of the war preparedness will be absolutely necessary and crucial. And in times of aerial combat, you need to see further than the other side. And your missile need to strike at greater distance than the other side. Now, based on my personal understanding of the military planes used by the great heroic Pakistani Air Force, they have achieved what I've called the seamless integration of the different dimensions of war preparedness, meaning you need to gather data from the AWACS, from the satellite, from the planes themselves, as well as the ground station. You need to be prepared way ahead of time. And when the airplanes on the other side took off on the airport, you need to see them ahead of them. And you need to be able to identify the planes on the other side and try to strike at them. Now, one thing very interestingly, the missiles launched by the Pakistani planes supplied by China did not just strike as we understand in a straight line. Now it goes up higher, gaining altitude, and then eventually it falls down, striking the other side without any pre-warning. Now, it all happened in a split of a second, and the missiles are guided by data from multiple sources. That means the Pakistani planes and the missiles, as well as the data center, transmitting, collecting, analyzing data of all kinds, is much more sophisticated than whatever the Indian side has. Now, for India, they do not manufacture most of their weapons, and they tend to import weapons from different suppliers in different countries. Therefore, it will be a hugely impossible mission to integrate them together into a viable, holistic system. Because in a matter of war, a split of a second may determine life or death. And I think the fact that India lost up to about 6 sophisticated planes without their pilots being able to see the Pakistani planes or even to detect the incoming missile is truly remarkable. I think the Indian-Pakistani aerial battle will be marked by history as a turning point in modern aerial confrontation. And I think the way the Chinese way of synthesizing all these data and transmitting all the data, collecting them, analyzing them, and also pushing the missile in a very extraordinary and new way, unconventional way, will be the dominant feature of the aerial warfare going forward. Now, India said they want to build their own planes. I wish them good luck. It probably will take several decades because in China, we spent many years in working very hard and in gathering all the information, coming up with a unique Chinese design, and then keep improving over the years, over the decades, etc., until we reach the level of perfection.
Exactly.
And between China and Pakistan, we have no reservation in sharing the most sophisticated information and data, a way of operation,